So the analysis of history says that Prama that is in was not established in full form, never ever so far. And in psychic sphere, uh, uh, also in psychic sphere, some effort has been made. Uh, in physical sphere, I think it has been more. So the history says, as Baba mentioned in his discourse, that mostly the potentiality of countries and communities and the people in general in both of these was less utilized or not at all utilized, or the opportunities that they had. Even Baba mentioned, if you all recall, that Baba said uh, uh, Tagore, Rabindranath Tagore, although he has done so much of work, he wrote so much, the literature, the poetry, and all that he left, but he used only 2 or 3% of his potentials. Hardly anybody uses the potential. And Baba always said that I have used the maximum that I have, and I would also like that you use the maximum that you have. So I think that kind of mindset, that kind of determination, that whatever Parampurusha has given, I should be able to utilize it to the maximum. If I, if it falls short of, then Parampurusha will do. And you remember Baba giving that example that if a house is set on fire, you don't do kirtan at the time. You take a bucket and fill it with the water and say Baba Nam Kevalam and throw in the fire and extinguish the fire. But if you sit and do kirtan, it won't happen. So I think the more we make an effort, Parampurusha will give more and more. And that is how, that's what I'm giving you an idea that what kind of mindset we would need so that we can implement this philosophy. So, because of lack of this utilization of these potentialities of human beings or these resources on all levels, what has happened? It caused defective ideas, defective philosophies, and defective practices. So these faulty socio-economic systems are the outcome or the result of this not utilizing the human potential to the maximum. But how could they do? Because there haven't been or there hasn't been any proper guide, and it takes time to change at the same time. So I think what has happened because of not utilizing the branches of human knowledge, the human possibilities in society and individual life, as a result, what happened that the culture and the civilization suffered instead of evolving culture and civilization, they were denigrated. So I think if we have to bring about prama, then there has to be intellectual and spiritual progress, so that the standard of culture and civilization is developed, it is improved, and the rising level of intellect and intuition would contribute to the culture and civilization. And Baba used this word many a times at different places. And I think any social movement can only be successful if there is a cultural movement at the same time, and there is a refined culture, which is civilization, that would provide a congenial atmosphere for individuals and collective body to grow. As long as that atmosphere is not there, which means the culture and civilization do not really exist in clear terms, then individuals can hardly have this opportunity to develop intellectually and spiritually, to have this enhancement. And therefore, in order to have Prama established, there has to be fullest possibility for the for these aspects that we were discussing. Now then, Baba says, so this is how the little bit of understanding why things did not grow. And Baba said that now it happened, this all happens in different sphere. That is, what happens in physical, if there is no prama in physical sphere, if there is no prama in psychic sphere, if there is no prama in spiritual sphere, what could happen, and what would happen, and what we can expect of, and what does this physical phenomenon, physical realm does constitute or is made of. So these are the aspects. So Baba says lack of Prama in physical sphere, which means that although all over the world the nature has been uh, bountiful, has been in abundance, there is no, whether it is all the regions of the world, they are endowed with a lot of possibilities. The what do you call it? The riches or the wealth over and under the earth. There are plenty there, but they are not, whether it's agriculture, minerals, or aquatic, or medicinal, forest, etc., etc. All these resources, and yet what happens that many economic many regions, they are impoverished, they are under utmost poverty, or there is, if there is physical, there is no psychic. But I think this physical thing is so important, where the we can where the cause of this imbalance, the extreme poverty in, because the agriculture, minerals, aquatic resources, and the mineral resources, the medicinal resources and forest, and other plentiful thing haven't been properly harnessed. Why? Because there hasn't been that kind of mindset. They have been, and as you know, in Proud, Baba says that imperialism is the result of selfishness, self-centeredness. And unless people are brought out of the self-centeredness, they are made universal, they are made to think beyond themselves, these things are never going to happen. And that's is the beauty of our spiritual practices. However, so Baba says, as a result of this disparity in a society, in industrial, cultural, and the low standard of living, it's all because the physical resources, although in plenty, haven't been properly harnessed, haven't been properly utilized. And because of this acute scarcity, sometimes, man-made, and sometimes are natural also. But however, Baba says that the scarcity in food, clothes, accommodation, education, and medicine, when these things are not fulfilled, that society is not, it doesn't have Prama in physical sphere. And that's, we see it all over the world, that even in 21st century, after so much of growth that we have, Baba says that material science is doing rapid progress. But there is an article, that there's a discourse of Baba, which was uh, Prabhomik Tattva, and Prabhomik Tattva, and I forgot the title of it. There, Baba says that there has been, progress. They are trying to do some kind of progress in physical sphere, but there is no. The real progress is in spiritual sphere. So, if you need progress in physical and psychic sphere, there has to be progress in spiritual sphere. But then here Baba is discussing that we should deal with, in particular, also specifically with the why there is lack of Prama in physical sphere. We should deal with it. And Baba gives many examples. I don't want to go deep into it. Baba says in Rar, in Bengal, and in Orissa, as I said, these resources of agriculture, mineral, aquatic, and medicinal, forests, etc., are in plenty, and yet they are not properly harnessed, or rather abused. As a result, some handful of people are enjoying, but the entire population, or the population at large, or the people at large, are suffering. And therefore, there has to be some kind of strategy as to how to utilize all those resources available in all the countries, and make them and utilize them properly, so that the riches in the surface wealth and riches under the surface of earth, I think, can be properly utilized, can be properly harnessed. And there Baba gives a lot of examples what kind of elements, what kind of material, what kind of these resources are available in which, and that is something that probably we need to understand. We need to read it. Uh, but Baba also suggested that most importantly, it is the agriculture that has to be, in order to bring about Prama. Agriculture must be, you know, must be improved. Baba mentions that we can take three crops in an area. So if there is possibility utilizing the technology, science, etc., it is plentifully available, and there are proper, planning of resources that are available. Many things can be done. So in order to, we need to have. So in order to have physical Prama, we have to utilize these resources on physical level that we have. So, so I think, uh, and therefore I understand Baba, yeah, Anandanagar in particular. Baba chose Anandanagar as a base for AnandaMarga, keeping in view that this Rad civilization, and I think we all should read. There are several books on. I don't know if they are translated on Rad civilization, and they give us a very clear understanding of how rich the civilization and culture have been in the past, but because of the present, this plundering mentality. Actually, there is the question is there are two types of mentalities. One is nomadic mentality, and another one is agrarian mentality. So, in order to establish, in order to enhance physical prosperity, or restore physical Prama, it's very important that we have agrarian mentality. This nomadic mentality is like a gypsy mentality. You go in one place, use the resources, plunder everything, leave it there, and go away. And the agrarian mentality is that you stay in one place, you plant a tree, you plant the forest, you plant fruits, you do so many things so that you may or may not utilize it, but your generation to come will utilize that after 50 years or even 60 years. So that kind of a long-term vision, that kind of sincerity, that kind of concern for the humanity at large. Otherwise, the present multinational psychology is plundering psychology. It's a nomadic psychology, and you just plunder and go. Whatever, who cares about it? The minerals or the, you see all over, and it is creating a lot of imbalance. But however, so I think and that is the approach of AnandaMarga to create agrarian, that universal psychology, where we don't think of ourselves, but we think of, and that is, in another terms, Atma Sukh Tattva and Swam Samaj Tattva, that we need both of them. But I think some Samaj Tattva should have upper hand in the life of individual and the collective body. So time and again, these terms are good. We know them intellectually, but the fact is this, that if we do not put ourselves into or transform ourselves into that kind of psychology and that kind of mentality and that kind of lifestyle, it would still remain a psychic phenomenon. It would not ever come into the reality of life. So I think it's very much important, and that is the concept of Baba, that Prama in all kinds of life is needed. So lack of Prama in physical life leads to hundreds of diseases, the health hazards, the psychic problems, and the spiritual bankruptcy, which we see there. Instead, there is a kind of a horde of religions of all kind. I have been reading this, the different views, the different religions, and Baba even said at one time that, well, we should have a philosophy that first practice and then the theory, but if it is other way around. And it was interesting, Baba saying that. He said that once these two intellectuals had a fight, and they wanted to, the that whether the fruit, whether the palm fell or fell first or the sound came first. So there was a big litigation among with both of them, and nobody could determine whether the sound comes first the or the palm fruit falls first. So they decided to go under the palm tree and see that what actually happens. And well, we'll see tomorrow what happens. By this that night had a terrible storm, and the next morning, as they went there, both of them were dead. So both they were dead because that was the answer. That certain answers you can't find, on intellectual. If you go there, you have to face it at the same time. So here, the idea is that we should have a practical approach to get rid of this physical imbalance. Then, second is then we will talk about how to come out of at the end. The second one is lack of prama in psychic sphere. Baba says that in human mind, our mind functions in two ways, and we all know that. But it's good to remind ourselves, and that is thinking and recollection, thinking and recollecting. The human being, these two tendencies we have, which create our desire, which create everything. Now the question is that what is the source of thinking? Now, what we read, and therefore Swadhyay in AnandaMarga is so important and indispensable in life. And Swadhyay, what does it mean? That you read something, you understand it fully, and you try to implement it properly in life. Otherwise, what is the use of studying or knowing anything? That knowledge will be useless knowledge. And therefore, we have to be very careful. Some person have, even Baba has been saying that, but some people, that you should that we should be guard at our on the gate of our mind. We should guard that what goes into our mind. We have to really see that not rubbish should go into our mind. Whatever goes into our mind, that makes our thinking, and whatever we think and what we do, then gradually that becomes our memory, and that's the way we go. So I think it's very important to take care of our. So Baba has given a lot of guidance on how to develop our mind, the 5 layers of mind, and all kinds of things. But basically, we have these two functions of thinking and recollection. Now, it is not simply to know it, that this is the way our mind functions and we know about it. But do we do anything about it? That is a question. So our mind, our thinking should be according to the ideology, according to the philosophy, according to the objectives or the values of life that we have. It can't be anything, and therefore the ideology is very important. 16 points say it very clearly, that we should have non-compromising attitude towards our ideology. We should have non-compromising attitude towards our ishta. Now, when non-compromising attitude towards our conduct rules, non-compromising attitude, and now that non-compromising attitude means that we are determined to do something, and we have to be careful that nothing rubbish or anything, any short of the subtle and the valuable thing goes in our head. So I think what the kind of books we read, the kind of programs we attend, the kind of things we enjoy, and therefore it goes into art, culture, Rava, the Renaissance universe, and all kinds of things. That what are the sources? What are those ingredients that we put into our mind, and that will create our thinking. So I think in order to have Prama in psychic sphere, we have to have a proper, the greatness in and speciality, greatness and speciality or excellence in our psychic level, kind of thinking we have, and the thinking capacity, intellectual subtlety, and the brilliance and wisdom we have in our mind. That will come out. That becomes our behavior. So mind is a factory that we should not allow anything to get in, or should not allow this to think in, and therefore it says positive thinking. What is positive thinking? What It's very difficult to determine what is positive and what is negative. I think, in my opinion, the positive thinking is to repeat Ishta mantra or use Guru mantra all the times. And Baba has given that discourse. He says very clearly that this auto suggestion and outer suggestion both are very important in order to build our mental flow that moves towards the spiritual, and that is what the ideology means, that you have to have. And when we think of spirituality and that Prama, as we discussed in the beginning, it is that physically, I think it is so important that we have a balanced physical base, and that is based on morality. And then goal should be spirituality, and means is our spiritual practice. So I think if we live it every day, if we live it in every second of our life, then I think our whole flow will go accordingly. Our thinking and whatever product of mind would be, how can it be? And Baba says that, I have two qualities, one quality or two defects. Baba says, I think one is that I cannot create a second God, because God is one, and I cannot hate anybody. So if Parampurusha hates anybody, then he is not Parampurusha at all. Now, shouldn't, if on a psychic effort, if Parampurusha or Baba is our goal of life, shouldn't we incur, shouldn't we harbor, shouldn't we, incorporate all those habits that Baba did have or Baba does have in his life? So that is his ideology, that is his lifestyle. So I think in psychic sphere, it is so important that we guard our mind and we have this positive thinking, and therefore these creative faculties and externalizing them into different colors. And that is purely psychic. Baba says that when you have that kind of evolved mind, there is creative faculties. They externalize in different forms. They externalize in colorful manner. They externalize through in various ideas. They externalize in various different ways. Like, for example, what you call it, painting, poetry, literature, sculpture, and all those things, and then the culture, poetry, and everything would be guided by that kind of benevolence, that kind of excellence, and it depends on the state of mind. And therefore, today the culture or this, whether all kinds of literature is polluted. If you go back into 60s, you will find that there was an effort, and the effort was that how can we engage or maintain the values of these material values to go for years, hundreds of years. And they came up with an idea that if we can bombard or control the subconscious mind of young people or anybody, we can achieve our objective. And here Baba is saying that because this lack of prama means that we allow anything to enter in our mind, and these people manipulate our mind or anybody's mind. Even today, many of you, many of us, if anybody says which political party or which group you would like, I think you say, oh, I like that one, because that's the kind we know. But we cannot even appreciate them, because Baba says that you should not make comparisons in minus. Say that this one is better than the other one. Baba says that if there is a pot having a 5 holes and there is another pot which has 4 holes, which one is better? Anybody would say 4 holes is better. Baba says the water, no, none of them will contain any water. So what is in the long run? In the long run, that pot is no use, whether it has less hole or more holes. Now we should compare ourselves, and that is something how to develop our mind, and that is something that we should compare ourselves in positive. That somebody that I know has 3 good qualities, I should have 4 of them, and someone has 4 of them, I should have 5 of them. So there should be comparison in terms of positivity, but not in terms of negativity. That, at least he has 10 bad qualities, I have only 5, so I'm better off. But bad is bad. So I think to settle down on to settle the score on this basis, Baba says it's a wrong psychology, it's a wrong mindset. And therefore, in order to come out of this psychic lack of psychic prama, it is very important that we nurture the refinedness of our mind, the philosophical ideas and scientific observations, scientific experiments, and the study of or analyzing or the different knowledges in the light of spirituality, in the light of what our ideology says. So what would happen that exclusively there will be, human mind will grow, and when human mind will harness, and it will harness qualities of higher values, so our psychic realm will be enriched. And when our psychic realm is enriched, then naturally what happens that the omissions and commissions that we always do sometimes because of our human weaknesses, some mistakes are done, but those mistakes, if not corrected, then it may become a fatal for the individual and the collective growth.